Citizens of the world, on July 10th of this year, Sandra Bland was pulled over for a minor traffic violation and arrested following an escalating conflict that alleged she assaulted the officer. Brian Insignia. Later released dashcam footage showed Insignia being unnecessarily violent as he slammed Sandra onto the ground. She was taken custody on the premise that she assaulted Insignia. On July 13th, 3 days later, she was dead. The official cause of death: suicide by asphyxiation. She killed herself using a trash bag found inside her cell. Sandra Bland, a woman of almost 6 feet in height, hung from a 5-foot wall partition. She died because she had marijuana in her system from 3 days ago and was intoxicated, and that affected her ability to think clearly. No, wait. She died after ingesting a quote, significant amount of it, in her cell. No. These are lies created by Texas State Troopers' false accounts as well as the Waller County Sheriff's Department. The truth is, Sandra Bland was murdered by the same people that swore to defend and protect the citizens of the United States. These men have no honor, and we cannot abide by their word or trust their so-called evidence. Sandra Bland was already dead in her mugshot. There are factors that stand by this conclusion as well as significant evidence. Waller County law enforcement was involved in tampering with much of the documentation as well as the mugshot. Allow us to run you through those points. Number 1. Waller County Jail does not put their detained in orange jumpsuits until after they have been processed. Evidence of this is all across their online records. Every detainee is in street clothes, looking straight at the camera, with their shoulders angled, and their bodies away from the wall. This brings us to point number 2. Look at her hair. Her locks are pointing back instead of hanging straight down. Her head is clearly resting on the surface behind her. Her shoulders are resting at a 180-degree angle, a clear sign that she is on the floor, and on her back. Another clear indication is cited when examining the fat on her face, as it is being pushed towards her ear by the force of gravity. Let's take a second and ask ourselves, why would law enforcement officials take a mugshot with the accused on the ground and on their back? More on that in a second. 3. If you look to the left side of her face, which is right of the photo, you can see that her face droops lower on one side than the other. This happens when oxygen is cut from the brain. Also on the right side of the photo, observing her neck, you can clearly see faded bruise marks present as well, a failed attempt at masking it by officials. 4. All documents submitted by the Waller County Police Department to the public as of now have been deemed unreliable, as there's heavy suspicion that all documents have been doctored prior to being released. She was not suicidal at the time of her arrest. If she was, why was she not put on suicide watch? Waller County officials do claim Bland spoke of an earlier suicide attempt. However, we have yet to believe anything they may say. There's no concrete evidence or prior medical history. 5. Officials, using the media to peddle their agenda, popularized the accusation that Sandra Bland first had marijuana in her system and that it somehow affected her cognitive ability to think straight and led to her suicide 3 days later. Then when they found out this wasn't a believable cause, they pushed another speculation saying that she either, quote, smoked or ingested a large quantity of marijuana in her cell. 6. CNN reported a cellmate next door describing the entire dilemma as quiet and that she did not hear any struggle or screaming. Why did they not ask her if she could smell marijuana as well? 7. The booking sheet belonging to Sandra Bland, also released to the public, does not show a clear mugshot. Both front and side shots are darkened to the point where no facial features can be seen. 8. Both the cell photo that was released as well as the dash cam were either edited or irrelevant. The photo of cell 95 was taken either before Sandra even arrived to the cell or after her death. Both have issues. If the photo was taken before, we know for a fact that Waller County officials have something to hide and decided to peddle this to the media. If the photo was taken right after, as they claim, then who had the time to rebag the trash can after a clear successful suicide using that same object was used? Again, unreliable. 9. A clear attempt at doctoring the nutshot was made by Waller County authorities. It failed. The original is now circulating across the internet. The anonymous collective is enraged at the failed attempt by Waller County PD and the Texas Trooper Association to mask a blatant act of crime against an innocent woman. And we will not stand as Sandra's death becomes another hashtag and then a statistic. We, Anonymous, are calling on the citizens of the United States to commit to a day of rage for Sandra Bland and all who have been murdered at the hands of ruthless law enforcement officials who know no honor. Cities around the United States will rise up in unison and call for Sandra Bland's justice. We, not as Anonymous but as citizens of the United States, are tired of the cycle of murders and cover-ups made by police departments across the nation. We demand that each police chief at each protesting city to come out to the crowds and renew their pledge to protect the people they serve. We also demand the immediate arrest of Brian Insigne and the resignation of both Waller County's district attorney and the Waller County's sheriff. If you do not take Brian Insigne into custody, we will come after all of you. All your secrets will be leaked. You will all be vulnerable. We all know where you live. This is for Sandra Bland. No mercy for murderers. Operation Rage for Sandra. Engaged. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Waller County Law Enforcement. It's too late to expect us.